let's talk about Mark Wahlberg and Flight Risk.
Mark Wahlberg is a man that knows how to dye some nipple hairs,
uh,
at least chest hairs, if not nips.
so Flight Risk.
Yeah.
The newest Mel Gibson movie, I think I was being a little bit generous with, because here's the thing, like I'll get into the plot in just a second, but like take all of the controversy aside and put it aside, the real life stuff that Mel Gibson did. He's a very talented film, and I've watched films from way worse people as filmmakers. Roman Polanski. So it's I can appreciate the art and the artist while separating the monstrosity. I don't respect or all that, but like I can appreciate the art, or at least
in the name of love.
Like I don't appreciate anything about Flight Risk. I will say this: it's the newest one from Mel Gibson, starring Mark Wahlberg, Topher Grace. I can't even remember her name, and I'm sorry, because she was probably the best part of this movie. And I just had to get this movie out of my mind.
I didn't think Topher was bad in this movie. I kind of wish he had more of a real role, because I think he's a good actor. I really do.
Yeah, he's not bad, but like I think he's at this level, like
fair.
Cheesy thriller, maybe a comedy here and there. He seems like he would play like the brother-in-law in like a romantic comedy. Really,
what I do think? I think he'd be really good in a horror movie.
He could, yeah. I think because like he did play scared in this really well. Like maybe like a scientist in Jurassic Park or something.
Well, not even Jurassic Park. Maybe like a paranormal or a slasher. Because I think something like of how he was with, of course, not to the exact key of, but how he was as Eric Foreman was kind of like the scaredy cat kid and like the awkwardness.
Ooh, I got a good one. We team up Topher Grace and DJ Qualls, and they play brothers. And it's almost kind of like those old Don Knotts horror movies where it's like the ghost of Mr. Pip or whatever, and we put them in a haunted house and they have to stay there overnight to make $1 million or whatever. Well,
I mean,
that would like those two. That would
him
be
in
funny.
there with what is his name? Well, who's the dude who's always dying in horror movies, but he doesn't die this time
in this movie?
No. I'm saying who's the dude who always dies in horror movies? Match him up with Topher Grace instead is what I'm saying.
I don't know.
Justin Long.
Who loves? Oh, Paul would love that. Paul loves Justin Long.
Justin, you put those two in there, or you had like four awkward. You had two more kind of silly, awkward type of people or whatever, and boom.
We're making our own movie instead of talking about Flight Risk.
Listen, Mark Wahlberg, you're a good actor. You're not great. You're good. Loved you in Fear. I'm not gonna lie. I thought that was awesome.
That was like 30 years ago, dude. We got to give it up. Like, cause like,
well, no. I enjoyed him in Ted 1 and 2. I thought Ted 1 and 2 were hilarious. Don't get me wrong.
Well, yeah, no. And listen, he has a wheelhouse, and I dig it. It is not this.
No.
And here's the thing, and it's funny you mentioned Fear, because he played a like kind of a crazy killer in that, right? Who just kind of says weird things and is like really weird. That's what he plays here, and I feel like this was Mark Wahlberg off the leash.
It didn't work.
It didn't work, but it's also kind of like, dude, what's wrong with you? Like one of those sort of things. Like like this whole movie, like the second he opened the door, I'm like, you believe, like yeah. It's kind of like after election day when you're like, seriously?
He didn't look like he had the credentials. He didn't have the He didn't look visibly like he had the credentials to be the pilot for that job, for that task. And like for me, if I opened the door,
he didn't look like he had the credentials to drive to that airport.
That too. I would have looked at him like, nah, I'll wait.
And it's and like, please, anybody who's watching, like, it's not that like there was any sort of type of way he was talking or type of way it was, but it's because it wasn't recognizable. He wasn't playing like a redneck hick or anything. He wasn't playing an intellectual in any way. He was just trying to play what he perceived as crazy. And here's what boggles my mind is Mel Gibson is a great director. He gets great performances out of all the movies he's done. You can love him, like him, and I'm talking about the movies now, but you can love him or like him, but like arguably there's some like Passion of the Christ, Braveheart, The Patriot,
Two Girls, One Cup,
Hacksaw Ridge, right? Apocalypto, like those are his movies. And then Flight Risk. This is a blemish.
This movie here feels like it was rushed. It feels like an action movie. Like, listen, let's get an action movie out there. We have this movie together. I feel like they seen when what's the movie that came out last year? The end of last year, the one that we all like, the action movie.
Carry on.
I feel like they seen that dropping, and they just rushed and dropped this.
Oh no, I think this was done. I think this was supposed to come out last October.
Oh well, they should have scrapped it. because this is bad.
This I don't disagree, and like it was a bad movie, and I gave it a 2 because it still looks good, and
The visuals are awesome.
everybody in it acts really well. Like the guy on the radio that's helping her fly the plane,
Mm-hmm.
even when she's talking, like Leah Remini plays like her boss, who she gets in trouble when
Yeah.
she goes to the other boss, and like it's this whole thing, and everybody acts with good intent and has a lot of intensity, and it's very thrilling. It's only Mark Wahlberg that makes this movie in terms of characters, because there are things about the plot and stuff like that are tough too. But it looks good. It's very beautiful. It's a quintessential Mel Gibson beauty shots all over the place. The intensity is there, but again, it's almost like when you have a brilliant villain or killer in a movie, and like it's just the camera's fixed on them, and like they're building like Robert Mitchum in Night of the Hunt or stuff like that, where when the camera's fixed on this killer, you see the intensity in them because they're good actors. Well, when they did that with Mark Wahlberg in this, that's not what we got. That wasn't what happened.
Like you're saying, this movie was visually it was awesome, but everything else, the acting was good too, which is crazy because it was visually beautiful. The acting was great, was good. I'll say it wasn't great, it was good. Even Mark, for what he was doing, he portrayed it well, but it didn't make sense. It was weird. The script was garbage. And then I feel like when you're shooting a film to where I feel like the script is probably more important than any type of film. Hear me out really quick.
Okay.
To where I'll say 95% of the movies is in one thing, is in the airplane, right?
Yeah.
You need to have a really, really, really good script. I'm not saying you don't need to have a really, really good script and a theme to where, not a theme, but to a film where it's like, okay, we're here for 20 minutes in this house. Then we're here on the plane for 2 minutes. Now we're here. You know what I mean? Where you're moving around. But when you're in one spot, you need something that's really going to grab you, like a really, really good freaking story and something that's like deep and impactful. Because if it's what this was, you get bored. Like, yeah, they have the conversation. They have the few fight things, this, that, and the third. But it still didn't make you be like really like locked in. Like, oh my goodness, I got to tell somebody about this movie. Like, I got to tell somebody they need to watch. Like when I watch Carry On, I'm like, this right here is an action movie. Not only is this an action movie, it has a fun thing, it has a good time. There's some unbelievable things that happens, but every action movie does that. And it's like, I'm locked in. Not only am I locked in, I would watch this again. I really had a good time with this movie. Flight Risk is like, I'm glad I watched it. I'll say that I watched it. I'm not even gonna say I'm glad I watched it. I'll say I watched it.
It's a cool title.
That's probably the best thing about this movie is the title.
Yeah, it's just like I probably will never watch this again, which is funny again because I will probably watch all of Mel Gibson's other movies at some point again. But not just this one is. Like, I hope he like looks back at how like not Thor, what's his name? Who played Thor? Chris Hemsworth. You know how like he looks back at like Thor: Love and Thunder, which I enjoyed, but he looks back and he's like, it's just too silly. I didn't take it seriously enough. Blah blah blah. I wish I'd go back and I would change things. And he's like, I hope I get another chance to do another one. I hope Mel Gibson looks back at this and is like, yeah, I don't know, I wasn't thinking straight on that one. It was just like a bro moment where they were just listening to each other and feeding off each other. And he goes back and makes another epic sweeping movie because I'm down for that.
So do you want to say makes a better action film then, or just a better movie in general? You mean?
Anything. I heard he might do Lethal Weapon 5 because Richard Donner died. I'd be down for that.
I'll say this: 2 things. One, I gave Flight Risk a 2 for my rating scale from a -10 to a +10.
Nice.
I thought about it because if we were going by yours, I would have given it a 1. But I'm like, you know what? It's a 2. Yeah. And then if he does that movie, he needs to knock it out the park.
He would. I think he would because he was one of the driving forces in its success, and Danny Glover's his best friend in real life. So
fair,
like they want to do it together. Like my thing is they're so old. Like, what are you going to do with it? But I feel like they could transition into something interesting because he is a great storyteller too, and that's the thing about Flight Risk. And to kind of tie it back, he didn't write Flight Risk. So like. Which is surprising to me. I wonder if he read it because I feel like Mel Gibson would know what works and doesn't in a movie. I don't know if they like, hey, this is a script. Let's do this together. And, Mel Gibson's like, I'm not making an epic with Mark Wahlberg. I'm making Flight Risk with Mark Wahlberg.
And the thing with Mark Wahlberg, I feel like I don't think he's a great actor. I feel like he's like in that middle of the row kind of thing. Which isn't a bad thing at all.
No, but it's all right.
He like when he hits It's a movie like Ted. I don't know what else. I can't think. I mean, I like them in the movies with Will Ferrell. I thought those were funny.
Yeah, I mean, listen, he's good. Comedy is a good wheelhouse for him. He does well in comedy. I didn't even mind when he was in like the David O. Russell movies, so which is still comedy based, but like he has certain wheelhouses when he's in them. Indy is one. He does well, and he flexes a good muscle. But then he gets into these action movies, and it's like they're all carbon copies of each other, and they're all on the streaming sites now. And you're just like, come on, man.
I feel like he should stick away from action. If he does action, he should do action comedy.
Yeah, I would take some more action comedy from him, but this was a duo that just didn't work for me with Flight Risk.
Yeah,
I don't even. Yeah. So that's our review of Flight Risk. We each gave it a two based on Sturdy scale from 10 to -10. He is a harsh critic. And then I gave it a 2 out of 5. I think one of those points is an automatic, like it's a Mel Gibson movie. I don't know what it is for my affinity for Mel Gibson, but like I'll
similar
watch
to the wrestling thing. You give that an automatic 2 points just because it's wrestling.
There are certain things in Hollywood, like Scarlett Johansson, she's another actor. I love Scarlett Johansson, Nick Cage, Jamie Foxx. Each one of them, I know. Eddie Murphy, I always appreciate him in movies. And like, say what you will, I like him in his movies.
Eddie
His
Murphy?
movies may be bad. Not all of them, but like some of his movies may be bad, like Pluto Nash. And well, I like Norbit. Say whatever you will. I like that
Me
movie.
too. That show was funny.
Movie is good. You know what? I've always found, I realize I'm saying this and it's like very controversial probably for some other white people, but white people don't understand Norbit and that's why they don't like it. And I think that Pluto Nash is sort of the same way.
I've never seen that. I want to watch that.
That'd be interesting. I think, dude, we should watch that for a plot roast. Or a pot roast now. But yeah, that's what I think. Like, I'm not saying all, of course. I'm not gonna be that guy, but like I'm just and say like only me. Like, no, I mean, but you know what I mean. Who understands it? And that's why, like a lot of Eddie Murphy's movies, Disney movies, just notwithstanding, but he was still good in them.
Yeah.
So I will give a point when I review his movies, and they've been getting better and better. Coming to America Part 2, that's
different. What did you think about what the hell is the one? Dr. Dolittle movies?
I like the first one the most. I didn't mind the second one.
Okay.
I didn't go past that. I think the daughter took over.
Nutty Professor?
First one is a classic. It was so funny. Second one wasn't. I don't remember. Like, I don't remember it that well, but I don't remember it being bad. But I remember the first one way better.
Yeah. Classic.
I love that we're talking about Eddie Murphy movies during Flight Risk. We still have 2 more movies to review. Let's jump over and review the next movie, and we're going to be talking about this for Valentine's Day. And I will talk to you later.